I understand, like, it's very difficult to talk about a purely Islamic subject without overlapping into the other religions, and that's where you sometimes get into these debates, because the Quran actually says that Jesus is not God, he is the messenger of God, right? And there's a clear, definitive statement there. So it's very difficult for a Muslim Christian to have a conversation without talking about differences, so I understand why you're asking questions which are apparently off topic. Yeah. Any other questions? Yep.
First of all, thanks so much for the nice talk.
You're welcome.
I have a question. You just mentioned that this Hajj is very important for the Muslim, right? Would you suggest to the Muslim to purify themselves before this trip?
Yeah. In many cases, many Islamic centers around the world, they have like actually Hajj courses where people actually do a course. I don't know, I've never done it myself. I guess it's like 2 weeks long or a week long, where they learn all the rituals and all the acts of worship during Hajj, what they have to do and how they should prepare themselves spiritually, mentally, physically, financially, and every other way before entering into that. And so I think that would be a good way of purifying.
Spiritually, I mean about the purify themselves, not about the action that they're going to do in Hajj, but about their self. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
About their spirits.
I think one of the things you need to do is, pray to God. First your intention, pray to God and learn all, whatever you need to learn in order to, when you're preparing the Hajj. And at the same time, ask forgiveness from everybody. That whatever your shortcomings, towards anybody, whether it's your mother, sister, brother, friend, all this.
Yeah.
You should be very, in a state of, know that if I had something between the two of us, I've come to you, I've asked you for forgiveness, forgive me because I'm going to this long trip, I don't know if I'll make it or come back or not, So Islam is basically, it's a
That's exactly.
that teaches love.
That's exactly what happened this past Friday, which is our day of congregational prayers. After this sermon and after the prayers, one of the brothers got up in front of all the people and said, I'm going on Hajj this year, and I've had some disagreements with the other brothers here about certain issues about how the community should be run. Please forgive me. I didn't mean this. Pray for me and for my family. We're going on this pilgrimage, and when we go there, we'll also pray for you as well. So there's always that sense of reconciliation and stuff like that. It's a very, again, like I said, it's a very spiritual, emotional time.
Yeah, and sometimes, human beings are normally, when we do something wrong to somebody, sometimes we're too proud to say, I'm sorry, Sometimes you come back and, reflect on yourself and say, oh, I really did something wrong to this person. Maybe I should say sorry, It has to, in Islam it teaches, you should always be in accordance, always be thinking about the other person, not hiding anything that, the way you should even walk on the earth, pride is something it's only Allah who should have that pride because He can create human beings, He can do wondrous things, but we human beings, we are limited to what we can do, really.
True.
On this question, I know the Islamic Institute of Toronto, I just watched last week, they had some live free streaming video that I can put up on the website of Sheikh Kuti's preparation class for the Hajj. Okay. And it's about 10 hours. I didn't watch the whole thing, but watched the first maybe half hour of it.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
The preparation not only of the physical components of the Hajj, but also of the spiritual and emotional preparation. That's
correct, yeah. And that's what I hope to do myself when I go on Hajj. God willing, inshallah, as we say. I hope to really get into it and know everything that I need to know before I do it. To me, I probably will end up going to Saudi Arabia more than once in my life, but I want to do the Hajj once and for all and do it perfectly for the sake of God, with the pure intention for God. And because, like I said, I did Umrah twice before, and I went to the Hajj, the Kaaba, like this, and there's like these, what do you call it, cloths that are covering it with gold inscriptions, and it's black silk material. And I saw a lot of pilgrims were just like rubbing it like that and crying and stuff like that, and just attached, stuck to the building. And I said, okay, maybe I'll try that. I was a bit ignorant myself, and I said, I don't think this is right, but I'll do it. And then some brother tapped me on the back and said, no, this is bid'ah. Bid'ah means an innovation in your religion. Because as I said, the Quran just says in chapter 5, verse 3, that this day God says, I have completed your religion for you and perfected your way of life for you and chosen Islam as your religion. So Islam is considered a complete, perfected, divinely inspired way of life. Anything you introduce new into the religion is considered a negative innovation. And therefore, Muslims are very protective of their religion. any kind of new advanced way of worshiping God, or as we see in some signs in some churches, contemporary worship, traditional worship. We have no such thing in Islam. There's only the prophetic worship that has been given down to us from the time of Adam, millions or billions of years ago, until this day. Simple prostration towards God. We don't want any changes in religion because it's a perfected way of life. And anything that a human can add to the perfected religion will be imperfect and will spoil everything. So that's the mentality of Muslims in that regard.
Can you tell us a little bit, and just that we're in Newfoundland here and this particular context, can you tell us a little bit about how, I mean, I don't want to ask you personal questions, but a little bit about what your, not only what your role is here, but how you became involved in Islam here in this province?
Good question. For me, it was just the bottom line concern in my heart was just going to paradise, just going to heaven. That's all I want, right? I just want to know God. I don't care about anything else in this life. I just want to know God. I want to feel His presence. I want to be loved by God. I always want to feel the tranquility in my heart, the peace, the joy, the satisfaction that comes by knowing your Creator. It's the greatest feeling you can ever have. Whenever I enter into a state of worship to God, and by the way, we don't always pray in Arabic, we can pray in our own languages, informal prayers. Whenever I make supplication to Allah, I feel His peace. And one of the names of Allah is As-Salam, which is the peace, related to the Hebrew word As-Shalom, the peace. So I feel the peace of God when I enter into that relationship and that conversation with Him. And through that relationship, that daily lifestyle of knowing God, repenting, and living an Islamic lifestyle of repentance, that's how you would achieve the best life in this life and salvation in the next life. And that's all I really wanted. I'm a skeptic by nature, and I investigate things until I exhaust myself. So I thought to myself, with all these religions in the world, I believe there's only one true God, and I've had some supernatural things in my life, which I'm not going to talk about, which to me is self-evident that there is a God. But I looked at all these different scriptures and all these different religions, and I said to myself, I know there's one God. There has to be one perfected way of life. If God really loves us and wants to show us truth from falsehood, clear from ambiguity, there has to be a true way of life. And it's just really opened up my heart to God and asked, please show me, because I don't want to go to hell. I really don't want to go to hell. I had a lot of doubts when I became a Muslim. I was worshiping Jesus as my God and calling Him my Savior. He died on the cross for me, etc. And then when I entered into Islam, I had really a lot of fear to overcome. Am I going to go to hell for becoming a Muslim? Really had to struggle with that. So it was only through the reassuring power of God, through prayer and through lots of theological studies, combination of intellectual as well as spiritual struggle, that I came to be certain that Islam is the true religion for me. And I look at Jesus as a Muslim. Abraham was a Muslim, and this is a very shock to a lot of people when they talk about these things. They say, Muslim? Abraham was a Muslim? When did Abraham say I'm a Muslim? Muslim is an Arabic word used by Muhammad, etc. But actually, as I said, Muslim means one who submits to God. Whether he called himself Muslim or not doesn't make any difference. He was a Muslim because he submitted to God. So we look at Islam as the fundamental faith of all the prophets of God, from Adam, Moses, Solomon, David, etc., all the way down to Jesus, past him to Muhammad, the final prophet. It's the same faith. What they said was, there's only one God, worship Him alone, and follow me as God's messenger, God's representative on earth. That's all they asked. And in that same fundamental frame of mind, that's what Islam teaches. The only difference between the religion of the former prophets in the time of Prophet Muhammad and the previous prophets was in the implementation of legal laws. Their faith in the oneness of God and monotheism was identical, but how they implemented the laws which God gave them was different because the societies and the circumstances and the times that they lived in were different. So, for example, Jesus had a congregational prayer, the Sabbath on a Saturday. Muhammad had it on a Friday. These are secondary issues, but in terms of their fundamental beliefs in the oneness of God, identical. There's no difference between any of the prophets, and that's why we say that the pre-Muhammad Islam, this is what I call a pre-Muhammadan Islam. Jesus followed that form of Islam, and we follow Islam today in its completed form.
Just one last question. Does a Christian believe in a second coming of Jesus?
They do.
Like it's mentioned in Matthew chapter 7, verse 2 to 3. Many will say to me that day, Lord, Lord, haven't we prophesied in Thy name? And in Thy name cast out devils, and in Thy name done many mighty works? And then Jesus said, I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Get away from me.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. The Christians do believe in the second coming of Jesus, as well as Muslims. the Jews do not believe in, they do not accept Jesus as a Messiah. Now there's a whole, this is something that I'm actually in the process of starting a research on, the concept of Messiah, who, you know, because there's different understandings of who the Messiah should be. Was it a kingly Messiah, a priestly Messiah, etc.? And I think Muhammad plays a great role into that, and that's something I'm actually starting to investigate right now. But yes, Christians do, they're waiting for his second coming, and we are as well. It's going to be a big shock for one of us, because either we're right or they're right. Jesus is going to come back and say, this is my book, the Quran, right? Or either that, or he's going to say, this is my book, the Bible. So one of us are going to be in a big shock, but we're both waiting for him to come back.
Well, I just wanted to interrupt, but I just wanted to thank you and offer you a small token of thanks on behalf of the class.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And thank you for all your time and efforts today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.